Just realized it's National Junk Food Day. I thought every day was National Junk Food Day. Doritos and Kit Kats will work for me today. I guess that's going to be dinner. That's the Bachelor life. You know it. Well, let's talk with Nikki Chavanelle, who was not with us last week. She was on the beach. So I forget if you were on the beach or the lake, Nikki. You told us a couple weeks ago. My brain's fried. I forgot. Good to have you back. How and where was vacation?
And it was really, really nice. Loved spending time with my family. But, man, it was like you go outside and there's no breeze and it's so humid. It was tough. But we were out in the water a lot, so stayed away from the heat a little bit as much as we could.
Got the mosquito bites that go along with the no draft?
I don't know why, but mosquitoes didn't love me, thankfully.
Lucky you. All right. Well, we had Hutch on last week. He was good, but he couldn't do the Nikki Chavanelle impersonation, which means we couldn't talk a lot about the recruits that Arkansas is looking for and the commit that they're getting. And all right, so we got a lot of questions about the possibility of eliminating early signing period and the things that Texas and California are doing. But first, let's talk about the two Arkansas football commits that Sam Pittman got over the weekend. So let's start with Aaron Outley. This was not a surprise for you, but this is a nice get for a school that specializes in very, very exciting tight ends.
Yeah, so Aaron, a few weeks leading up to his announcement, it was becoming more and more clear that, he wants to be at Arkansas. He was trying to hold out for some visits at Oregon and Florida State, but then Florida State took another tight end. So it just seemed like, there was a delay for pretty much no reason at that point. Visits aren't going to happen for a while anyways, and the recruits, they were, obviously treating him like a commitment already and putting the pressure on. And he was also getting involved in doing recruitment behind the scenes as well. When I talked to Solomon Wright's dad, Kenyatta Wright, yesterday, he was saying that recruits were calling Solomon before he committed and asking, telling him why he committed to Arkansas over other schools. And Aaron Outley, I know it was him because his dad mentioned that it was, Oregon and Florida State that he was picking Arkansas over. So even before Aaron announced, he was kind of recruiting for Arkansas. And, that's a huge commitment. He was absolutely must get. I think probably the most, must get guy of this class besides Terry Wells. So glad that they got that done with Coach Cooper. Haven't had a lot of experience with his recruiting so far, but getting Aaron Outley is a testament to that. And, it was a full step effort as well.
Well, you mentioned Solomon Wright. Fair to say that the flip from Texas Tech to Arkansas for the defensive tackle was a huge surprise or just a moderate surprise?
Well, to me, it was a surprise. Ever since, I had heard of him before. I knew he was the son of Kenyatta Wright, who was a linebacker for the Jets, and he played at Oklahoma State. Someone even had mentioned on the board, 8 months ago, I wish they would go after this guy, and that was when Chad Morris was still here. So he lives in Oklahoma, had a gigantic junior season, committed to Texas Tech, but then, he started thinking about, options a little closer to home, even though at Texas Tech he'd get to play like Oklahoma and Oklahoma State, his dad's alma mater. His dad told me that he just felt the best opportunity for him to succeed, not just in college, but beyond life after football would be coming to Arkansas and getting into that network that everyone always talks about that, the UA has with businesses around Northwest Arkansas.
Speaking to Nikki Chavanelle here on Halftime, I want to go back to Aaron Outley just for a second. And I didn't really put two and two together, but a three-star kid. But when you look at the schools that he was getting recruited by, and they were some of the big names of college football, A&M, Florida State, Michigan, Penn State, LSU. And I was just curious from your standpoint, because you're who we go to with recruiting, the three-star rating and for who he was getting recruited by didn't really add up to me. So has he struggled to this point and then had a killer junior season? Or help explain that to me.
Well, he didn't really get on the radar until his junior year, and then the offers started piling in. and it definitely seemed like he'd be one of the guys on track for a 4th star. But, none of the kids in the in-state right now by Rivals are ranked 4 stars. They're all 3 stars, and that has to do with just the fact that, the analysts can't get out here very much. So he's relying on tape. And on tape, Outley, they play him as just a really large receiver, so there's not a lot of blocking on his tape. And then he ran sort of on the slower side at a camp in his 40, so I think that held him back. The analyst is just, less likely to take a chance on someone that they don't feel very sure on or haven't seen a ton of. So he could definitely move up. The offer list, backs that up, but we'll have to see how his senior season goes. I know Rivals is going to wait until they get more tape. They're not just going to move kids around right now.
Are there any other recruits out there that could be making their commitments here soon?
I would actually look towards that 2022 class. I think there are a few in-state kids that are closer to making a decision than some of the targets that Arkansas is still waiting for the 2021 class. So, I'd look out for that. Guys like James Joyner, J.J. Hollingsworth, and then they just offered Caden Turner over at Fayetteville High School. Isaiah Satenya, the wide receiver at Fayetteville as well. His dad is a track coach at the University of Arkansas. So a lot of guys that could just start a movement and start committing pretty much at any point, I think.
One thing Phil mentioned when we kicked off the show, and I'll bring Phil back when I ask this, but California postponing football to the spring. Texas football pushing it back to a month going into a little bit later September and then October. How is this going to maybe not necessarily affect, but change how big-time college programs are going to go about recruiting? And when you look at the early signing period, how's this all going to change and probably affect how they do their business right now?
Well, recruiting as it is, like evaluation is already a big hit and miss sort of situation. So I just think this time around there is going to be some more misses. You're not going to get to see as much of kids as you would like, but you're still going to take chances on, based on their previous tape and, other colleges that are recruiting them already. But it's going to be tough for some kids to get attention at this point. But I definitely, with that early signing period, I'm just not sure how they can go through with that. And someone mentioned how are they going to enroll early if you can't sign early? Well, they actually, they sign a financial agreement. And so even if, a kid has their senior season pushed off and they still want to enroll early, they can go ahead and do that. Arkansas right now, I'm not going to name them because it's, VIP content. I've put in the work to get these names, but 7 of the 15 2021 commits right now are on track to graduate early. So that's pretty much whether they have a season or not. Most of these kids understand that getting on your college campus early, really gives you a big advantage going into your first year in terms of getting to play sooner than other kids.
You know what I think it ends up leading to, and I've seen a couple of analysts that touched on this, and the first thing they hit on is exactly what you said, a lot more misses, just because of the nature of recruiting anyway in a normal year, and you can't have face-to-face eyes on feet watching a game, and film just doesn't do the same for it. And then there's going to be the case of kids that just don't play, that have a season where they just practice and don't play at all. So with that said, with more misses in college football, do you think that could possibly loosen the vice grip that some schools have on the top 10 classes every year? Georgia, Ohio State, Alabama, A&M. It's a broken record every year. Maybe this pandemic changes that a little bit and leads to more parity in college recruiting?
I wish that was something I could foresee happening, but it's just like you said, the guys that recruit top 10 every single year, they're going to keep doing that. And even if they have a few more misses, their overall talent is going to be so far ahead of other people that it just doesn't make that much of a difference. A good coach and a good staff can always make a team with less talent seem a lot better than they are, but just in general, having top 100 kids, multiple of them, those kids are usually pretty undisputed. They might fizzle out because of something other than their talent, but we kind of know that those kids all have legitimate talent if they, have their head on straight and do the right thing.
So the fact that California has got more high school athletes than any state in the country has pushed these fall sports to the winter, essentially. They're going to start either in December or most probably in January. Now, that might not affect Arkansas in football or maybe any sport as far as kids that they're targeting, but it affects a lot of other schools. What is pushing that whole calendar back to the wintertime due? Now, I know you're covering Arkansas and more about the SEC in this part of the country, but in your estimation, what does this do for Pac-12 football, for other conferences that do heavily recruit on California talent?
Well, I think they'll continue to heavily recruit the area, but I think they're going to shift focus a little bit to other states that have plenty of talent, and that means that, there's more fighting for these top kids. So it's just going to, create more really tough recruiting battles amongst these schools. Luckily, Arkansas doesn't have to be in that, but because maybe schools don't target California recruits as hard, they may have more competition for some kids thereafter. I don't think we have to worry about that right now. I think we can tell that this 2021 class, it's not going to be star-studded, but in 2022, that's when you really start trying to build, Sam Pittman's, his kind of reputation as not just an offensive line recruiter, but as a, class builder. I think, that could be more of an issue, but hopefully by then, we have this figured out.
It's great to have you back, Nikki. You're the best. Before we let you go, National Junk Food Day, what's your choice at the convenience store?
I've been really into Rice Krispie treats lately.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah, I bought those really long ones for our drive, and now I have a 40-pack of the little ones in my pantry.
Sounds good. I could eat a Rice Krispie treat or 20. Homemade is always better than store-bought, just like everything else. It's good to be back with Nikki. We'll have her back next Tuesday.
Thanks, Nikki.
All right.
Bye, y'all.
877-377-6963 to get with us, and might as well ask you what's your go-to junk food snack. And I have a lot of them, and I can't just pick one favorite thing. But these days, I'm into Doritos and Kit Kats, and I got a very special way to eat a Kit Kat because I'm a very special person.
Oh, oh no! I think I know which way you're talking about.
Layer by layer, my friend.
I'm done with
That's
you.
like my personality, an
onion,
layer by layer.